Hi everyone, welcome back to another Invest Power Stories today. I felt like I haven't done a 3 years review of one of my property portfolio for a while now. Really, there's been so many other things to talk about. So I kind of been postponing more of my own investment stories. But I thought today we'll continue on from where we left it last time, which is our Murrumba Downs investment property. If you can't recall how I acquired this property, check out one of our earlier videos last year where I gone into a bit more stories about how what are my criterias and why I picked this property. But I thought today, if I look at it 3 years on, how that property has performed, I would say it's actually one of my best performance. So let's have a look at, I guess, what have I done correctly? And maybe that'll give you guys some inspiration as well about what you need to look out for when choosing your next property. So I think number one, in terms of what I have done correctly in this case, is I've actually chosen a really good property manager. I use Homes for You up at Redcliffe. So, the owner of the property manager, or the owner or the person, the head of property management, her name is Maria. I've actually interviewed her while I was on that trip personally. And, so face to face, got all these questions lined up, went through the interview process, asking standard questions about how you're going to look after my property, how many properties does your PM manage, etc., etc. And I was quite impressed with her ability to be able to obviously respond and the business process that's built within that Homes for You. And that's why I thought, they're not the cheapest, of course, but personally, I'm not a believer of cheapest equals quality. That's why I thought, having understood what sort of personality she is and what her team is like and what her business process is like in place, that's why I thought I'll give it a go. And 3 years on, I'm very glad that I actually made that decision to use her. I still currently have the first tenant that I put in. So the tenant that actually moved in literally within the first week after settlement. So no gap, pretty much no gap. We advertised the property after formal approval, which is great. And Maria was able to secure this tenant and they moved in within the first week. And ever since then, there's been a little bit changes in terms of the tenant situation. I mean, it was a couple before with a couple dogs, but essentially they, I think in the second year, unfortunately the female applicant had to move away or move out. So which leaves the male applicant as the only leaseholder. Having said that, we were a bit worried about at that time, and want to ensure that the male applicant is looking after the place properly, and obviously making sure that he's paying rent on time as well, because before him there were 2 income and now it's down to 1 income. But thankfully, no major issues. There's been no single rental arrears whatsoever. The house has been looked after in a very good condition, and Maria actually does 3 months inspection every year. So, literally you get 4 inspection reports, you can be confident that the PM is absolutely doing their job and reporting progresses and anything that they think may potentially be an issue down the track. Now, that's second point. Let's have a think about the growth aspect of things. So this Murrumba Downs property was not a cash flow play. It's a capital growth play. And I guess looking back now, I would say just comparing similar properties around the area, I would say over the last 3 years, it's done about a 10% growth, which is quite good, given the fact that the property is located a few minutes away from Kalinga Station. It is treated as Murrumba Downs because it is in the Murrumba Downs suburb, but technically speaking, it is closer to Kalinga. And Kalinga as a suburb, for those investors that's actually look into the suburb statistics, know that Kalinga has been doing quite well. A lot of investors have actually bought into the area in preparation for the upcoming university. Okay, so over the last 3 years, I haven't done any major renovations on the property whatsoever. It's essentially just wear and tear, tidying up usual maintenance issues, and And basically, if you think that over 3 years' time, just sitting back and using a buy and hold strategy, you're able to achieve roughly a 10% growth over the last 3 years. From a Brisbane standard, I would say that is quite good. I'm not expecting it to boom personally. I don't think Brisbane is in the same type of property market as Sydney or Melbourne. I am a believer that Brisbane will do slow and steady. So 3-point-something% a year, I'm quite happy with that. Plus on top of that, no rental vacancies, the first tenant's in there, so what else can you ask for? So I guess, in this scenario, in the Murrumba Downs property, it actually represents a good lesson for everyone. If you do want to go down the buy and hold route, make sure you pick a suburb that obviously has got evolving infrastructure. So in this case, the new University of Sunshine Coast is obviously up and coming in 2020, being built, which started gentrifying the area, the Kallangas, the Murrumba Downs, and also towards Strathpine, towards south. So those areas, yes, they are slowly gentrifying, and the way I look at it is because I got into the market early. This is back in 2017. In fact, I bought the place even before the Kallanga train station was completed. So, come into the market early, hold the property for long term, and what I would expect is over the period of time, this whole area around Petrie in the next 10 years, once the new uni is set in place, with the students moving in and the new job opportunities around the area, will slowly keep going, with the prices will obviously continue to grow over that time. And, this will be a long-term hold, in my opinion, a 10+ years at least. And the real growth, let the compounding do its magic after 10 years, is when it will really shine. So I guess if you are looking at just a buy and hold strategy and you're a passive investor, time poor, don't have the time to do renovations, subdivisions, anything to manufacture equity yourself, look for a prime location, because you want to make sure you buy quality assets around prime location. In this case, mine's close to train station, close to university, and that's the key criteria for me. So, and the demographic was quite good around the area as well. Okay, so that's an example for you guys. So that's pretty much it for the Murrumba Downs property, I would say. As I mentioned before, it's one of the better performers in my portfolio from capital growth perspective. Yield's also not too bad, around 5.5% gross rental return at the moment. So, I'm not complaining about it, anything, but at the same time, I guess it's all the experience that I accumulated in my first 4 properties that has led me to choosing this property and obviously deploying a good strategy in terms of finding a quality asset. Okay, so everything adds up to the degree, like it doesn't happen overnight. But if you are one of those first-time investors and looking at getting into a quality asset and need a bit of help, feel free to reach out to me if you need some guidance about asset selection and that kind of stuff. I do want to emphasize that I am not a BA, not a buyer's agent. I'm not qualified and licensed to be acting as a buyer's agent. But having said that, with whatever my own experience, I'm more than happy to help you in terms of choosing a quality asset like the one that I have. So that's it for today. If you got any questions, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, like our video, subscribe to our channel, and I will see you guys again in next week's InvestPower episode.